Hi, I'm Hannah Elsa Abraham, an audiologist and a speech language pathologist. I welcome you all back to my channel, The Happy SLP. June is globally celebrated as Dysphagia Awareness Month. Some of you might be wondering what that is. Let me explain. Dysphagia means problems with swallowing. Dys for disordered and phagia for swallowing. A swallowing disorder not only affects a person's safety but also their quality of life. In the following weeks, I would be posting more about dysphagia, so stay tuned. Moving on to the topic, let me remind you all, if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and also tap on the bell icon so that you will continue to receive a notification whenever the video is out. Let us think for a moment about how we eat food. First, we have to open our mouth and put the food inside, and then after some time of chewing, we might swallow. But let me tell you, there is more to it. So today I'm planning to talk to you all about what is swallowing and the major phases involved, and then give an intro on dysphagia and the swallowing difficulty. We know that the primary purpose of intake of food is to provide the necessary nutrition and also hydration for the continuity of life. Swallowing is more of a complex process, and we call this process deglutition. They have two crucial biological features: food passage from the oral cavity to the stomach and airway protection. This requires a coordination of numerous muscles and nerves so that the food can finally take away from the mouth to the stomach. There are three major phases involved in swallowing. The first phase is the oral phase, and it is divided into the oral preparatory and the oral transport phase. In the oral preparatory phase, we take the food inside the mouth, and with the help of the tongue, the food is moved around the mouth for chewing. Chewing will help the food to be prepared into a cohesive mass known as bolus. This is when the food gets mixed with saliva and it softens and moistens the food so that the swallowing becomes pretty much easier. Tongue prepares the food ready to be swallowed. That is why this process or this stage is called preparatory phase. The time taken for the oral preparatory stage will vary depending on the viscosity of food, that is, some might need a longer time for chewing and some may not. Once the bolus is prepared, it is transported to the back of the oral cavity proximate to the opening of the throat or oropharynx, and that is why this stage is called the oral transport phase. The oral phase, both the oral preparatory and oral transport phase, is under voluntary control. And now as the bolus reaches the back of the oral cavity, this will trigger the swallow reflex, and as a result the bolus would be entering the pharynx. The pharynx connects the mouth to the esophagus. Once the bolus reaches the pharynx, the involuntary pharyngeal phase begins and the larynx closes tightly, and breathing stops to prevent food or liquid from entering the lungs. There is relaxation of a band of muscle known as the upper esophageal sphincter behind the larynx that opens to allow bolus passage into the esophagus. Now let us see. The third phase, the esophageal phase, begins when food or liquid enters the esophagus. Esophagus is the canal that carries food and liquid to the stomach. This passage through the esophagus usually occurs in about 3 seconds depending on the texture or consistency of the food. Later, the esophagus squeezes food down to the stomach. Although swallowing is characterized as a series of discrete events, it is a rapid process. The actual duration of each stage will vary according to the type and volume of food being swallowed, but transit times in healthy young adults typically remain in the 1 second or less range each for both oral and pharyngeal stages of swallowing, and around 3 seconds for the esophageal phase. Now that you have understood the process of normal swallowing, do subscribe and stay tuned as I'll be back again next week with more on what is swallowing difficulty or what is dysphagia and the major signs and symptoms, and also more into the diagnosis and about the professionals involved in rehabilitation. I hope this video was helpful to all of you. Let me just remind you again, please do subscribe to my channel and also share among your friends whom you think this would help. You can always contact me, the Happy SLP, either via comments or through my social media accounts, Facebook or Instagram, regarding your concerns and queries regarding speech, language, hearing, and swallowing issues. I'll be giving the links in the description and I will try my best to help you. So until we meet again, another video, stay happy and much love. Hannah, the Happy SLP.